Yo, 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 Instagram fam, what's going on? Hope you're well. Whenever I'm feeling angry, I like to make myself some growl sounds. Nothing is more attitudinal than a little bit of that rawr kind of angry cat noise, angry dinosaur, rawr, rawr, rawr. So how do you do this kind of thing? Let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to make a sound like this today. Pretty cool, pretty useful, especially for big bass music, and everyone should know growl theory. So basically, let's go ahead and start by initializing a serum patch here and see what we can do. Now, every time you begin this process, it's going to give you different results as you get further down the chain. So it's kind of just understanding the way to set up the order of this operations, and you're going to be able to make infinite amounts of growls. I'm going to pull down our note over here. Now, the first thing that I want to use is any kind of basic sort of wavetable, saw wave, square wave, something that's got a little bit of solidity and power to it. And the second thing that we want to do is set up the growl shape. Now, if you think about what your mouth does when it goes row, opens quick, slowly closes, row. So if you're going to do that kind of thing, let's give us the growl shape here. I'm going to set this to trigger and use it as an envelope, and I want to set a slower amount, a slower rate. Like a half note should be fine. Now, this one LFO is going to be tied to all of our destinations, and it's going to give a lot of manipulatability from one source. And so everything is going to move wow, like that. All right, cool. Where do we tie this LFO to? We're going to set this first to the pitch. Now, we can go really extreme with this. I'm going to go to our global master tuning, and if I go all the way up, we get that kind of lasery shit. So maybe less is more here. There we go, it's like a dying cow sound. Yeah, maybe just a little bit. We'll go to 6 semitones, one direction mode. All right, cool. Now let's go ahead and add some extra movement to this by playing with our favorite Serum wavetables here. Let's go into our digital folder, and I'm gonna pick, let's do evil something, evil Longreese. And I'm gonna tie this same LFO to that same destination. Let's listen. Clearly too much movement in here, it's sounding kind of chaotic, so I'm going to back this off and find a sweet range. And so like I said, every time you do this, you're going to get a different result. If this was a little bit longer, that might be appropriate. If it's a little bit shorter, maybe it's moved here. Like, these are going to give you a big distinctive difference by the end of the process, every time you do just a little tweak. So yeah, I'm cool with that, whatever, it's fine, it's just a growl. Let's go ahead and add some detuning and pull that detuning in so it's not so smeary. Cool, we've added some width. Now, there's a lot of ways of playing with oscillator A. We could play with some FM here in our warp mode. I think FM from B will be fine. Let's go ahead and try that from the same destination. Now, if it's all the way up, it gets really bright and kind of tedious. So let's back it off some, so that way the FM is controlled. Get on a little bit of noise. Maybe we tie that to the level of the noise as well. Anytime you're using a little bit of white noise or a little bit of pink noise in your sound design, you add this kind of crackly timbre and character that can be really interesting. Cool. So there's the dry sound. Let's go ahead and start some filtering stuff. Now, something that could be nice is just cutting out the highs as we do this, but that's not exactly the growl shape. Shift Option click to make this a unipolar Saturn ring. And so that kind of cuts the highs out and chokes them off, but that's not exactly what I'm in the mood for. Let's try one of these multi-filters. I'm thinking like boosting the highs as we cut the lows. So let's do like a low and a high cut all at one time. So that's cutting the highs, and then with this frequency knob over here, I can actually cut the lows simultaneously. So let's throw that on. Let's push that up a little bit higher. And now we can get this kind of wow, cutting out the lows as that moves up, and we'll send all the sources through there. Sweet, so that's giving us that really like screechy kind of growl. If we go all the way up, it's going to cut the whole signal. So maybe a little bit more resonance, a little bit more frequency. Cool, yeah, and maybe less resonance. And maybe more resonance. Okay, sweet. So now we've killed our sub. Let's make sure that we can restore that sub there so that we're going to have a little bit of power in a big speaker system. If we look at this, you can see that we're cutting that as the sound moves up. So to get some sub, we'll go ahead and restore it over here, and let's make sure we're in the right range. Oh, this whole sound is not in the right range. Let's have everyone come down an octave. Oh, there we go. Now it sounds much more like a growl. Cool. So be in the right octave range, friends. All right, sweet. So now we've got a bass sound and not some other bullshit. Let's go ahead and start to play with some effects to give this even more movement and dimensionality. Now, I'm not a huge fan of any of the Serum dimension effects, like the dimension, phaser, chorus, anything that's going to give something a three-dimensional feel. I prefer to do that in a third-party plugin, but Serum's distortion is Gucci, so let's go ahead and play with that. Throw this on the drive. Maybe we try one of their other algorithms. Oh yeah, now we're getting somewhere. Drive goes such a long way in making a soft synth start to sound like tactile and physical and real. And let's go ahead and add some extra movement through a phaser. I don't know if you've all seen AU5's static phaser tutorial, but that is definitely one to watch. You can basically execute that by dipping down the feedback and then just playing with the frequency and the depth, or even no depth. So let's go ahead and just put this on the frequency, back our depth off. I'm going to keep it on 100% wet while we listen. Sweet, adding a lot of movement without it, and then with it. But it's also kind of giving it that squelchy sound. So let's back off the feedback. There we go. Wow. Cool, it's not so extreme, and then we can blend it in to taste. Yeah, I'm kind of liking it there. Nice. Now let's make this shit loud, right? Now everyone likes loud growls. So the key to making your multi-band mode or your OTT work in Serum is turn that shit on, and then make it cool by pushing it loud. Whoa, so easy. All right, now we can hear it's getting a little bit bright. This top one is our high-end band, and if we lift it up, it's gonna be really harsh and bright, and if we back it off, a little bit darker and muddier. So let's just go ahead and kind of balance that with our ears. Yeah, sounds fine to me. And finally, if we wanted to add more movement to this kind of thing, we have another filter and another EQ. So some great ways of adding extra movement is doing the old like neuro-based design tricks with your EQ over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and select a band, pull a little dip, and we'll tie this node here, this LFO, to our frequency and make this kind of scratch through the mids. The one thing I want to oh, let's turn that off. There we go. The one thing I want to think about when I'm doing this is I don't want to cut the sub. So I could set the sub to direct out, and that will preserve it, but for the most part, just have these kind of move in the mids. They don't really, these nodes and these dips and these boosts, they don't sound that good when they go up into the highs. They sound a lot better when they're concentrated in the mid-range. So yeah, I'll kind of keep that restrained there and maybe back this off to like 150 or so. Oh yeah, that's cool. Sweet, so we're just trying to find ways to add movement. We could do another one. Let's go ahead and do a boost this time, and maybe this one goes in the opposite direction or something. So they kind of cross over and like fold. Yeah, that's dope. All right, and again, every time you do this, you're gonna position these in different ways so that you get a different result. Maybe this one's a dip instead of a boost. So, you know, like you can kind of do it however you want. Yeah, fuck it, let's keep it as a boost. I mean a dip. Sweet. Now, with our last filter, to engage this device, maybe we try something a little bit abnormal. Like if I just throw this onto our mode cut low, and click our unipolar mode, that again is Shift Option click, it's gonna cut the highs, and that could be cool. Make it like a dark growl. But I think it would be even cooler to leverage this dope filter with some of their flanges and comb filters and some of these other like crazy spiked ones that lend a lot of movement to the sound. So let's try comb filter. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then a little bit of resonance. Oh yeah. All right, cool. So now I'm gonna go ahead and back off that mix amount, blend it in. So we have all kinds of frequencies here, and we are growling all over the place, and now it's just kind of a matter of trial and error and what kind of sound you're going for. If you want less distortion, do that. If you want some three-dimensional effects on the outside of Serum, like your chorus and your reverb and your delays, although you probably wouldn't delay a bass, but some chorus and some verb on a bass go a long way. Let's go ahead and just do that in a parallel chain and finish this sound out by slamming it into a clipper. You can see I'm building a parallel rack here. Anytime you're doing dimensional effects, I highly recommend doing it this way. So we got a dry signal, we've got a verb signal, we've got a chorusy signal, and for the chorus and the verby signal, let's make those friends all the way wet. Make them real short in their decay times here, and maybe cut out the lows. We don't need that sub to get verbed out. And with our chorus, what could we do with our chorus here? Let's go ahead and back off the amount. All right. Cool, and then I'll blend these other layers in. So there's that. Let's bring up the verb first. Cool, a little bit of that goes a long way. Some chorus for some width, maybe some warmth, and then finally we will crush it. We must crush it, friends. So let's go ahead and smash it in real hard. If you set your 10 and your 2 release, 10 attack and 2 release, That's the most aggressive compression setting you can get out of the glue compressor. I'm gonna smash the living heck out of this friend, pull down my threshold until we hit like 10 or 15 dB. Oh yeah, crushed. And now to make up our volume gain, we will smash it into the clipper. Cool, now at this position, I would probably resample this out and start to manipulate it in audio, because that is where things really get manipulatable and quite sweet. Big brick of sound, kind of what you want with a bass. Anyway, friends, hope this was a useful tutorial. My name is Cryptochronica, and thanks for stopping in.